Forewarning, super friends, I just got a whole new camera set up for this video, so if things get a little wonky on the screen side, you've been forewarned. Get it? Forewarned? I'm such a dork. Hello, super friends, and welcome back to another episode of Superhero Saturday. My name is Annie, and today we are going to be talking about the number 4. Specifically, the 4 temperaments, or the 4 humors, the 4 character tropes, the 4 elements of the Avatar cycle, sort of. We are talking about the 4 character ensemble formula. As a storyteller and an avid fan of many different works of media, I have done a lot of study into what is called cast calculus. This is the study of the different types of character teams and the different numbers of characters in these teams that are employed in different works of fiction. I've actually already done a number of videos on cast calculus, including, for example, the Golden Trio formula and the 5-man band formula. These videos are linked in the description below and up in the cards if you would like to see more. This week, however, we are talking about, as I've said, the number 4. This formula has gone by quite a few different names in the course of history, although it has been used pretty much throughout the history of storytelling. Some call it the 4 temperaments, others call it the 4 humors, others call it the 4 elements. In a literary sense, this concept goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, big surprise, who theorized that behaviors were often influenced by the concentration of 4 different types of fluids in the body. These fluids, or humors in classical medicine, were blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. Ew. A permanent imbalance of these fluids in the body was theorized to have influenced someone's behavior and personality type. Although this theory kind of worked its way out of modern medicine over time, it did influence and create a whole genre of dramatic works in classical history called the comedy of humors. This is as opposed to a comedy of errors, which focused more heavily on events to spur plot development rather than relationships between the polar opposites. Although the Greeks get credit for this one, there are also cultures all over the world and throughout history that have a focus on 4 elements. Whether that is the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 elements of nature, or whatever, 4 is a number that is seen consistently throughout human culture. Across cultures, theories, and timelines, there is really no specific standard of what these 2 axes are for determining personality type in a set of 4. Some artists use extroverted, introverted, others use task-oriented or people-oriented, others use stable or unstable, brain-focused or heart-focused, confident or insecure, and even masculine and feminine. That's part of what makes this particular trope so hard to nail down, but I think I've got it for you and I'll share with you what I've learned today. Though it's not as standardized and widely used as some of the other tropes, for example, the Golden Trio, there is no shortage of examples when it comes to a 4 temperament ensemble. For example, the 4 founders of Hogwarts are one of the first examples that come to my mind. Another example is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There are also 4 hobbits in The Lord of the Rings. As for superheroes, we have, of course, the Fantastic Four, or 4 of the most popular characters in X-Men, which are Professor X, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Wolverine. Even the classic model of the nuclear family has 4 elements: father, mother, son, and daughter. Although nowadays, when used in different works of fiction, this is usually augmented with 1 additional character, whether that is a baby, a pet, or a grandparent of some kind. In that sense, technically it makes that a 5-man band situation, but because it's used so often with 4 different types of people, of characters in the story, it kind of works with both. For example, with Scooby-Doo and the gang, Shaggy and Scooby rarely ever split up, so essentially there are 4 elements to that team. And if we take, for example, The Incredibles, we have the 4 main characters and then also the baby to take care of. Even Big Hero 6 kind of has a 4 temperament system with the main 4 college students that are part of the team. On that note with Big Hero 6, another interesting thing about the 4 temperament formula is that there is no clear leader. Any one of the 4 different types of characters could be the leader person of the group. Any of the 4 personality types in the system can be chosen as the leader, and sometimes there's even an outside leader that influences the team on big decisions. This works really well for the example of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who often fall back on their master Splinter to help them in a really big crisis. I personally think that having that 5th additional element, whether that is a pet or a baby or a mentor figure, makes this formula a lot more stable. Just be aware that this technically can make it a 5-man band system, so depending on what formula you're working with, you can lean either direction. As I explained earlier, the Four Temperament formula usually consists of 4 characters who are split by extremes on a 2-axis system, as you can see on the screen. Although there are many different ways that you can categorize characters, I think overall the most consistent and cohesive use of this chart is on the following pairs of traits: internal, external, and rational, emotional. Therefore, we have 4 types of characters: internal rational, internal emotional, external rational, and external emotional. This covers all sorts of different characterizations, whether that is extroverted, introverted, task-oriented versus people-oriented, structured or unstructured, without diluting the characteristic elements of each of the different 4 characters. For example, let's go to the most iconic 4-person ensemble in the superhero genre, the Fantastic Four. Let's start with Mr. Fantastic, the classic stuffy father figure, a scientist who gets lost in his work. Most of his direction in life is into his internal world, and it takes a lot to stretch him outside his comfort zone. He is also very logical and tries to think with his brain rather than lead with his heart. That makes Mr. Fantastic our internal, rational character. The Thing. Ben Grimm is the test pilot of the crew, and while sometimes he can be perceived as gruff and brash, he is always very independent, and after the accident that transformed him into something so inhuman, his focus in the plot is almost always on himself. He's also fairly emotional, whether by taking pride in his work, showing a soft heart hidden beneath his hard exterior, or wallowing in self-pity. Therefore, the Thing is our internal emotional character. Next, we have the Human Torch. The Human Torch was originally retrofitted into the Fantastic Four by Stan Lee, who recreated him as Susan Storm's annoying little brother Johnny so that he could bring back that character into the Marvel Universe. He's a typical teenager, rebellious and loud, often seen shouting his iconic battle cry, "Flame on!" This combination of boldness and temperamentality puts him into the external emotional slot. Finally, we have the Invisible Woman. Over the years, there have been a number of personality changes for Susan Storm, but it makes the most sense to me to see her as being external rational. She is a scientist, much like her partner Reed Richards, and can therefore be cool and calculating, but she is a lot more realistic and sanguine than anyone in the group. She's also sometimes seen as the mother of the team, keeping everyone grounded and focused on the important tasks at hand, like, for example, saving the world. That makes Susan Storm our external rational character. This team works really well together, especially in stories that are driven by their contrasting and differing personality types playing against each other in different relationships, a lot like a classical comedy of humors. Personally, I haven't used very many Four Temperament formulas in my own works just because I feel like the odd numbers are a little bit more stable, especially when you have a 4-person team with a leader figure or a pet figure in the mix. But it can and it does work really well, especially when it's executed properly. For that reason, I think in popular media I see it a little bit less often than the 3 formula or the 5 formula, but I don't really have any hard data to show you any evidence because this is a really subjective science. So there you have it, the Four Temperament formula. Do you know of any other examples of a Four Temperament formula story out there in popular media? Because I had a really hard time coming up with examples for this one. Please put those down in the comments below and we can continue the analysis there. Thanks so much for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you would like to see more superheroic content every single Saturday. Join the team by following us on social media or going over to our Patreon page to support us directly. If you want to see my own original superhero works of fiction, go on over to our website at www.fearless9.com and pick up some new content to binge over the holidays. Thanks again for watching, Super Friends, and we'll see you next week.